Hi, I'm Professor Steve Parker in the Department of Political Science. One of my jobs here is to serve as coordinator of the internship program. For the last several years, the UNLV Foundation has been kind and generous enough to fund a very special kind of fellowship for political science and related students, whereby you get to spend an entire session in Carson City with the Nevada State Legislature. You sign up for an internship course, and what we're here to do this afternoon is talk with a couple of alums of the program. I have with me this afternoon two young ladies who served in Carson City in the legislative session of the year 2011. Sitting to my left are, first of all, Brittany Shipp, who served on the Democratic side of the House, and seated next to her is Nicole Koester, who served on the Republican side of the House. One thing that we always try to do is balance the mix of the 6 students who we send to Carson City. You get to choose whether you're going to serve on the Republican side or the Democratic side, of course. The purpose of this brief presentation is to let Brittany and Nicole talk about their experiences, just what it was that they did there, how they found housing, what an average day was like, what kinds of things that they did, and maybe most importantly, how it served to build their resumes for looking ahead to the time after they graduate, as I would imagine many people who will watch this webcast are asking themselves. What's going to happen as a result of this? Most of you are aware that this is a paid internship. It works out to about $1,900 a month to take care of all living expenses, and that's something, again, that we owe a great deal of thanks to the UNLV Foundation for. So can we starting off with the person closest to me right here on my left. Brittany, would you tell current UNLV students something about, first of all, your time at UNLV, and then what the internship position was for you, what you did, what you learned, and so on?
Sure. I went to UNLV all 4 years. I didn't actually declare a major till my junior year, and I declared political science. One day I was just going through my Rebel Mail, and I saw the internship open, and saw that it offered a stipend to cover your living expenses, and was a really great opportunity to learn the legislative process firsthand. So I applied.
And what were some of the things that you did there, and in the specific job that you were given?
Sure. I actually had the privilege of working in the Speaker's office for the Assembly side. And as you know, there's 2 houses in the Nevada legislature, the Senate and the Assembly, and I worked on the Assembly side. My average day, I would go in, and a lot of times we would answer constituent letters, basically drafting responses for people that needed help from the government. We'd find solutions for them, either programs that were available for whatever problem that they had, or people that they needed to talk to in order to solve a problem. We would help find those answers so that the speaker could send them a letter back. Another thing we did was bill tracking. We get a lot of bill draft requests. There's over 1,000 bill draft requests every session. And
so other legislators turn in these requests, they go to the Speaker's office, to people like you for tracking.
Yeah, because the Speaker is the leader of the caucus, we track all of our caucus members' bills, and so we see where they are in committee. We track, whether they pass or not, and a lot of times we even create like a spreadsheet of these bills so that for everyone to know where the bills are in the legislative process, so that if anyone has a question over where this certain bill is, we could see where it is in the process.
So you learn a few good computer skills related to all of this as well with the tracking.
Yeah. It's actually very interesting because you really learn a lot about government process in all areas, and how the bills are heard, and people can come, and it's open, and they can come in support of a bill and how it'll affect them. It's a very open process, very transparent government.
Okay. Nicole, let's switch over to you for a few minutes. What were some of the duties and activities that you had when you were in Carson?
Well, every morning, Justin and I, who was my co-intern, we would sit down and read all the newspapers in the state of Nevada and come up with a list of newspaper articles that may be something that the legislators wanted to listen to or had wanted to take the time to read, so that they wouldn't have to go through the newspaper and waste time finding the articles.
So you're kind of keeping your finger on the pulse of the state,
right,
and informing them on what's going on, what's being reported.
Exactly. We worked a lot on financial things, tracking, where the money was going from the caucus, because I worked for the Republican Assembly Caucus, which was 16 members at the time. Helping them with their bills if they needed research or if they needed to find somebody to testify on behalf of their bill. We would work to find people to do that for them. If they, needed somebody to read an opposing bill, or sometimes there was a bill that was similar from the Democratic side and the Republican side, we would work with them to create a compromise and find the pieces of both bills that we liked, so that when only one bill got heard, we were able to make sure that the important pieces were
so a lot of behind-the-scenes management, finding people to give testimony, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. You work really closely with the people. Everyone there is really great, and everyone's friendly. It was just exciting to see what was going on. Like Brittany said, you would sit in on committee meetings and listen to what was going on. You did do a lot of bill tracking. There were times when it got closer to the end of the session, things were getting pushed through at a very rapid pace because we were behind schedule. And so, the legislators may not have time to read all the bills. So as the bills would come in or the amendments would come in, we would have to sit down and read through them as quickly as we could to try and come up with some sort of summary, what all these pages of information.
So you do some summarizing for the legislators as well, as stuff was pending.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. You're doing really is serving as a staff member.
Yeah.
You're paid. You're paid staff member for the legislature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What was it like after hours in Carson City? I mean, after all, it's a state capital. You've got people there from all walks of life who come to Carson City because there are things that they have on their mind, people who we typically call lobbyists.
Right.
I'm told that Carson City is a very good place to make contacts.
It really is. I think, during the legislative session, there's all sorts of events that go on. Lobbying firms hold, parties or dinners, a lot of which you'll be invited to by your legislative person that you work for. It just varies, but definitely, the lobbyists are in and out of the office all day, coming to check tabs or see where this bill that they're supporting is at and this one. And if the people you work with aren't there, they count on you to give them the response that they need, and therefore you build a good personal relationship with them.
Yeah, your experience similar on that too?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all the lobbyists come in, in and out, and you're even invited to dinner with them sometimes as like a friendly relationship. So, it's business, but it's also can be like a friendly relationship. So you make friends while you're up there. Yeah,
that's part of the idea. That's part of the idea. I think that's why one of the other reasons that the foundation is interested in funding this. Tell people who might be interested in going up there what it was like to move from Las Vegas up there, getting you and your stuff up there, and just the logistics of it. How did you find it a place to live? How difficult was that? Maybe let's start there. They're going to change their life for a whole semester.
Yeah.
Well, me and her had a unique situation. Her parents actually found us a house that was available for rent on Craigslist up there. So we actually rented a house and split the rent costs, and it included utilities. It was fully furnished. So it was very nice. But a lot of people just stay at the Plaza, which is a local hotel. It has like a kitchenette, microwave, refrigerator.
So you have a studio apartment, basically.
Basically, yeah. And it's really right next to the legislature. And it's about as much rent as an apartment would be, for a month, because they rent it out monthly during session. And it's walking distance to the legislature. So
walking distance to work, and you've got all your facilities right there in your little studio apartment. All right.
I know there's there's lots of apartments in Carson City. It is really, it's not a huge town. It's quite a little town, actually. And I think the town thrives during during the legislature.
Yeah, things come to life.
So there are plenty of apartment buildings that are not rented 95% of the year.
Yeah,
very inexpensive too.
And in terms of this also, there's one person who's an alum of the session before, the 2009 session, Elliot Anderson, who served as an intern in that session and was elected to the Assembly 2 years ago. He'll be coming back again, we assume.
No, he definitely will.
and he has volunteered. He has stepped forward and said, "Professor, if you need people, if you need anybody to help your interns find housing, I'll be that person, because I'm sort of in place, and I've been there many times and can assist with that." So these kinds of things are relatively easy to overcome. In terms of keeping your full-time student status, I mean, the thing that we usually recommend, the internship itself, you earn 6 credits with that. Distance education learning is available for another 3 or 6 credits. And of course, in addition, there's Political Science 480, which is an independent study course that you can sign up to take with any of the members of any one member of the political science department. Do that for 3 credits. So you would have 3 credits of independent study, 6 credits of internship, and that would leave just 1 distance education course. Or you might opt to do 2 distance education courses.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies, any thoughts on the impact of this on your resumes, on your futures? Tell us very briefly what you're each doing now, and then what you see as the future being.
I think that, you know, the field of politics is definitely a field of who you know. And I see that more and more going on through life, that people will apply to positions and they won't get them if they don't know anybody. So for that, I'm extremely grateful to have met the people that I met through this. Now I work for the Republican National Committee in the Romney for President campaign here in Las Vegas, and have high hopes of, after the elections being over, moving to Washington. But we'll see what comes after that.
Okay.
Yeah, and one thing special about Nevada is that the political community is very small. So you actually meet a lot of really important people when you're up there. You meet a lot of people that are really involved, and you can get to know, and that can, you know, when they know you, and like Nicole said, you apply for a job later and they say, "Oh, I know this person," and you know, and you automatically get, you know, kind of like a preferred on your resume because you've met them before. For me personally, I worked for the speaker, who's John Oseguera, and he's running for Congress right now in Nevada's 3rd Congressional District. So I applied for a job on his campaign, and I'm now a full-time campaign staffer on his campaign. Hopefully, if we win, you know, I'll have a job offer in Washington, D.C. as well, so that's where I hope to go.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's you know, a very interesting and direct way to begin a career in government or politics.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, you know, to kind of wrap this up, I would say that with this generous funding from the UNLV Foundation, we are looking for 6 good people to send to Carson City, beginning in February of the year 2013. You'll spend the entire spring semester in Carson. Trips back to Las Vegas, optional at your, depending upon your own whim. You can take a look at the print section of this website for a good idea about prerequisites, requirements, and all the other details that will be necessary in order for you to apply for this. Again, I'm Steve Parker, Department of Political Science, and I want to thank my 2 guests today, who are alumni of the internship program, Nicole Koester and Brittany Shipp. Thanks, guys.
Thanks
No
for having us.
problem. Thank you.